Good afternoon, everyone. This Monday's show is stepping out of your comfort zone. So, Jim, this is a good topic. A lot of your own experiences, and
Yep.
we were just speaking off camera there about obviously the way in my comfort zones as well is quite a good one we're going to cover today.
You
And I
right
think
out of your comfort zone straight away because I changed the dialogue, didn't I?
you did, because I had this all planned. Jim comes on off screen about 5-10 minutes ago and is like changed it all. So it's put me on the spot and out my comfort zone slightly.
And
So
that's okay because the great thing about being out your comfort zone is you always really want to be out your comfort zone. I know it's
yeah,
really uncomfortable, and I hate it, stating the obvious. But if you're not out your comfort zone, you're not growing in any particular way. Then
mhm.
you're not, and you'll never get beyond where you are right now. So
Unless
that's
you
the
push
key.
yourself that extra.
You
Yeah.
have to at some point be out your comfort zone. Here's two classic examples of how I'm out of my comfort zone. So Debate Night Scotland says,
Yep.
Jim, how would you like to ask a question of the politicians live on BBC? And I'm like, okay. And then I go, shit. what if my mouth dries up? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I say the wrong thing? Because it's live, it's not going to get
Yeah.
changed. This is exactly what we do right here. Now,
Yeah.
I was fine. I was okay. The other one was Willie Rennie, sends me an email. Willie Rennie, the MSP,
Yeah.
Liberal Democrats, sends me an email and says, look, I'm having a Northeast Fife summit, housing summit. It's going to be at St Andrews University. Do you fancy speaking for 15 minutes? I went, yeah, absolutely. Who's going to be there? Well, the housing minister. and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. So I just thought this was a wee thing in a room for Northeast Fife Housing Summit, but I get the impression that this is a housing summit for the Scotland, but it just so happens it's going to be in Northeast Fife and at St Andrews University. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. So there's another one. Well, classic example as well is the PIN Investors Group. So
That is
in
next week.
Edinburgh, next week, I'm working on my script just now and dialogue and putting everything together. But that's another one when somebody approached me because I don't particularly I don't want to really be on anybody else's stage because I've got my own. Why would I need to be on anybody else's stage? And it might be a minute stage in terms of what everybody else has got, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing because my objective is not what anybody else's objective is. It's actually to teach and educate and leave a legacy for my children, so they'll understand how I thought and how I think as a property investor, as an investor overall. And the knowledge and expertise that I've got right now is downloaded into video and into podcast, so they can listen to it and generations can listen to it for time to come. When I'm long gone and dead, if there is a choice where they could go back and listen to this, and that's where the knowledge is. Because I always thought to myself, geez, imagine the amount of people that just die, and you're dying from the day you're born. But imagine the amount of people that die, okay, but they've lost all their knowledge and expertise goes with them at the same time.
Things that go with them, yeah.
That's for me was like, wow, I need to do this. You can put it in books and all the rest of it. That's fine, but I like video. Video's more interactive as well. Well, the great thing about video is you get the emotional response. You get the feel. You get the feel for video when you're talking. Whereas, well, imagine watching your perfect, your best film. Let's just say it's Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Goodfellas is a great film. I love it. But, would I love it that much if I was just looking at the photographs of the film and reading the script? No. And that's kind of like, for me, like what it is with having, the book might be a more interactive, and it probably is, and that's why people buy it. But more people will watch video and more people will listen to podcasts now because it's easier to digest and it's more convenient as well. Hence the reason why we're doing this. So it's putting yourself out your comfort zone. Sorry, Richard, you're going to say.
In fact, no, just listening to you there, Jim, and it's something I picked up on, and probably others will as well that are watching. The fact that obviously where you are now, and obviously you've worked for a lot of years to get to where you are, and obviously you've pushed yourself outside your comfort zone a lot over the years. But as you are now, and
Mhm.
you sit on camera and sit live and speak very confidently and are quite confident in what you're doing and things, some people might find it strange that you are now still pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, and some things put you outside your comfort zone now because you maybe come across fairly confident and fairly knowledgeable in what you do. But everybody does it. The most successful people in the world are probably still pushing themselves outside their comfort zone every day.
Every single day. I
Yeah.
mean, you'll never grow otherwise. If you don't do that, you'll never grow, and you'll never do anything else different. And you'll always be where you always are right now. If you're not happy with where you are right now, then you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because you'll never exceed where you are right now, and you'll never get any more than where you are right now. You'll never get any further. You'll be stuck where you are. And it's better to realize that now than actually realize it when you get to 50 and 60 year old.
Yeah.
And you go, or even worse, you get to your deathbed and you lie in your deathbed and go, oh my God, I wish I had done. That drives me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the one that drives me. Every single decision I take about what I'm going to do something, if I'm going to go for it, is all down to the fact that will I actually lie on my deathbed and feel regret about not doing what I've been asked to do or what I should be doing right now? If the answer to that is yes, let's get on with it. Screw it, let's do it. If the answer is no, then I'm not really pushed and motivated to do it then anyway.
Yeah, I think anybody that truly thinks about that realization and actually realizes the impact of that, if you get to that point and have that regret, it is a good driver. But you really need to think about that. I mean, people might just say, "Oh, I don't want to be on my deathbed," and think about it, but really think about being in that position and having that regret.
I've heard so many stories from people on stage, people that I know and admire, and nobody else will know their names. It's from all my mentors back in 35 years ago. But I remember them all speaking on stage at some point in time, and the defining moment for them was when they were actually speaking to their parents or their grandparents when they were dying, literally at the side of their bed.
Yeah.
And their grandparents or their parents would turn around to them, their parent would turn around to them, or their brother or their sister, and they would say, don't ever, don't do that. Do it for me. You see it on Britain's Got Talent. You see it on X Factor, where people come on and say, my mother died and she put me in for this, or she said, don't ever regret not going for it. And
put yourself out there, basically.
That's the same mentality. That's the same mentality. That's why I push myself out of comfort zone all the time. I've got a real great ease to say yes. Yes is so easy to me. No is more difficult. But the reason that I say yes all the time is because on most occasions you will be pushed out your comfort zone because you're saying yes to something you don't even know what you need to do yet. Often, and I have spoken to a lot of other people who are quite successful at what they do in their own rights, in their own fields. And I said, I'd say to them, I take it you tend to say yes quite a bit. And yeah, I do actually. And to my own detriment, I went, well, funny enough, I'm like that as well, because I always go, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll get involved or I'll do it. And then I go to myself and go, holy shit, what do I need to do now? It's like
I found myself in that position as well. But
it's like I've just volunteered for something I have no idea what to do. And then it's the proverbial duck. The wee paddling under the going out for weather on the surface. And you're just like you're floating along the surface, like, yeah, this is no bother. Holy shit. That's the sort of uncomfortableness we're talking about. It's David Bowie talked about it quite a bit, and he did it in one of his interviews before he left us. And he talked about the creativity. And he says, it's like being out of your comfort zone doesn't need to be full throttle, throw yourself into the swimming pool and sink or swim job. Yeah. He said, all you need to do, it's like being in the swimming pool and just getting to the point where you're on your tippy toes and you're just above the water and you're on your tippy toes. And just as you pass into the next bit where you're just out of reach and you're just about to sink, he says, that is the point in life where creativity thrives overall, and you will do something miraculous because of that. Because you could just go back a wee bit and you could be okay, but you're just forward enough to actually just stimulate your mind, and it's all that stimulation and the brainstorming and the preparation that you do. When the opportunity appears, you jump on it. Yeah. There was a look at one I shared recently on social media. It came up on my timeline actually from 2011, and it was the property I bought for 75,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the property I bought for 75,000, I think it was it's a 3-bedroom, and it's got that attic room.
Yeah.
And I converted the attic room into a proper ensuite with a
bedroom,
bathroom as well. And that's worth 130,000 today. But I bought that in 2011 for 75 grand. But do you know, more importantly, how I bought it? It put myself in my comfort zone straight away. Because literally, I saw it on the internet that afternoon. I was leaving for Pitlochry with the boys, with my 2 boys. We were going up to Pitlochry to Fiscali, to the campsite. And we were literally leaving at that point in time for it. And I saw it on the internet. And I immediately phoned up the agent and I says, any chance I get a viewing? And they went, well, when are you available? And I went, now. And they went, okay, I could do that for you. And literally, I drove with all my camping gear to view the property at the same time with the boys in the back and had a look at that property at that point in time and said, I'll take it. I'll give you 75 grand for it, or whatever it was at the time. It was 75 grand I bought it for. I'll take it. And the person went, okay, I'll speak to my boss. And by the time the afternoon was over, it was done and dusted. And I was on the campsite when I was on the phone when they were saying, yeah, offer's been accepted, job done. I could have easily not put myself out of my comfort zone and said, yeah, I'll get it on Monday when I come back from Pitlochry. But the reality is, I probably would have lost it because somebody else probably would have seen it and it would have been gone.
Yeah, that would have got snapped up over the course of the weekend.
But literally within that time, I would have lost £55,000 as a right today. But more importantly, someone wouldn't, or several people wouldn't have had a roof over their head because that wouldn't have been a rented property possibly.
Yeah.
So several tenants wouldn't have had a roof over their head. And I wouldn't have had an opportunity to earn income out of it either. And it's all these things just out of that definitive moment where I thought, no, I'm going to do the viewing. I'm going to do it now on the way. We're going to fit it in. Whereas most people, most unsuccessful people will go, I'll wait till Monday. They'll not push themselves out of their comfort zone.
Well, I was just going to say that they won't push themselves outside their comfort zone. And I thought, just before we obviously carry on with what we're going to cover today, I mean, let's talk about what actually is someone's comfort zone. Has everybody got the same comfort zone? Is everybody's different? What kind of state of mind? I mean, what is your comfort zone?
Well, psychological, clearly.
Yeah.
It could only be, it's up here. It's no anywhere else. It's this. It drives everything else here. So the way you're feeling is all about what's happening up here in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on historical flight or fight responses. In other words, all the information you've gathered over the years about how to react to certain situations. The classic is the caveman. The two of them are sitting in the bush looking at an antelope and thinking, we're going to run out and we're going to kill that antelope. We're going to have it for our tea. And then there's a creak, a crack of a twig. And then all of a sudden, a T-Rex comes in and grabs and gobbles up one of them. Another one goes, oh my God, and runs for the hills and runs away as fast as possible. Now, see how that's now embedded in that person. Next time, he's sitting in the bushes and he's waiting for an antelope to get
behind him.
All he needs to do is hear a crack of a twig and he'll go, oh, T-Rex, and run for it. So that's the psychological programming we've had over all these years of growing up. Now, I've had 56 years at it, coming on 57.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's been messed up shit, I'll tell you. Yeah. And most people have got a hell of a lot of baggage they're carrying about with them from their youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about this before, how I've managed to offload a lot of this baggage. And the fact that I've actually spoken plainly about a lot of it on here in our investors, in the Wealth Creation Show, we did our investors, Diary of a Property Investor, how I made my first million. When I talked about it in there in length and detail about how I did that, and I kind of offloaded it at that point as well, but I offloaded it years after that with the help of various mentors I've used over the years that have helped me understand myself and helped me understand how I think. Now, this is all about me. When I think, understand myself, it's not how I'm going to change the world and to accept me. It's how I need to fit in and how I need to how I need to work in harmony with other people, and how the baggage I take with me can affect that. So it is a psychological state in which a person feels at ease because they're not being tested. That's their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So you have to really push yourself outside of that, and inside that comfort zone, you're typically engaged, and you're not typically engaged in new experiences. You're not interested in taking on new challenges. You'll be the last person to throw yourself off a bridge in a bungee jump. And you'll not entertain anything like that, and you'll probably just not go anywhere and do anything, and you'll sit in you'll sit in your house for the rest of your life and watch television.
Do you know, I laugh at that example. Sorry, when you talk about the bungee jump thing, because I don't think I could do it, and that's fear. And I think fear is the big driver in what you do. Are you going to do it, or are you going to just let the fear consume you and sit back in your comfort zone and not do it? And I really don't think I'd be able to push myself, but fear, and then that's obviously like stress and anxiety and things, and people avoid those kind of feelings. But fear for me is a big thing, and the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, Jim. We've both read that.
But you've also got to have some sanity there. Throwing yourself a bridge on a bungee jump, it's like the 1 in a million or 1 in several billion chances of that not working and going wrong means your life is over.
Yeah.
And for me, I ain't taking that risk.
No, I don't think I could either.
Just to say I jumped off on a bungee cord and thought it was absolutely fantastic and I had a great rush, that's no worth it to me at this point in my life. If I was young and naive, yes, I probably would have done it when I was a lot younger. Tony's done it. My daughter, she's done it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do things like that, and it doesn't faze them. But
look, I've got no desire to jump out of a plane as well with a parachute. It's like,
oh, no.
Because the even the chances that the parachute could go wrong, it's just like, no, it's a no. You're not coming back for that. You're a splat on the ground. So so I've got no desire to do things like that. I don't need a thrill or a rush or anything like that. I can switch. I can switch dopamine on.
You get that in other ways, yeah.
In a heartbeat. Yeah, a great one, and it's Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, great one he does. Every time Bill Clinton does this, right? Every time Bill Clinton's about to do something or anything, a speech or whatever it is he's needing to do, he looks at himself in front of the mirror and he goes and throws his hands forward and goes, "Showtime!" Every single time. See that rush that you get from that? The rush it gets, and that's equivalent to that adrenaline rush you'll probably get when you do anything exciting. So I don't need to do anything exciting because that's called an anchor. You've anchored that. You've anchored feelings and emotions, which are euphoric, to that exact process. Slap in the face and pushing your hands forward, looking at yourself in the mirror and going, "Showtime!" And that's what his anchor is. So he knows how to switch his natural chemicals, natural highs and endorphins on. And if you can do that, you can do anything. You can switch on every single time. You don't need to jump out on a bungee cord. You don't need to jump out in a parachute or anything like that. And that is how you push yourself out your comfort zone, but feel really good about it. Because that's what you're doing. Because the comfort zone relies on you out of this comfort zone. Being uncomfortable relies on you doing that. So, people often say the comfort zone to avoid feelings of anxiety or stress, but that's how you get over it. When you get over the stress, it's easy to do that if you provide yourself with an anchor. A typical anchor to most people out there, a favourite song. A favourite song, it will make you feel absolutely fantastic. Like you would dance as if nobody's watching. That's an anchor, really, because you could use that song every single time you've got a challenge or you feel stressed, and you can use that to your advantage in the fact that you just switch that song on and it makes you feel fantastic and it changes your state, which then makes it easy to be out of your comfort zone. That's probably one of the keys here.
Yeah.
It's comfortable, it seems. The safe bubble and all the rest of it, it's personal growth. You need to do it. It's the most important thing. Learning how to get out of your comfort zone. We've got to talk about sort of, some top tips to do that.
Yeah.
It takes willpower and change in mindset. This is what I spoke about all the time. Each step you take to expand your comfort zone leads to personal growth, learning, and even overall success. Sometimes failure.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, so why is it so hard for some people to leave their comfort zone? And I think obviously, I mean, you said there obviously failure of success and things is a big one.
Oh, you talked about fear.
Yeah.
Fear and uncertainty.
Yeah.
You know this, and I've said it, and I'm not pro independence. I'm not against independence. I'm kind of this is the way I put it. Independence will never happen, and I'll have 55% of the population or whoever's on here saying yes, independence will happen one day, and that's fine. You could think that, but independence won't happen because even the people that are 55% says yes, I'm going to vote for it. A fair few of them are actually going to be fearful. And if the outcome is, if you're more fearful of the outcome than you are of where you are right now, you will not vote for it when the time comes. Because it's uncertainty. It's uncertainty. That's why it won't happen. They've got it all wrong. And I tried to tell them this. They've got it all wrong. They're just approaching it in a logical, fashionable manner. And like most people do, and they expect the public or anybody to believe it and to go on that journey with them. But what they don't realize is they don't have the knowledge and expertise that they have. So they don't understand some of the things they're talking about. I was listening about AI this morning, Mo Garrett, who was head of Google X, and he was talking about how we need to be very fearful of AI. But it could be good if we do it right. And within the next 10 years, this could all go wrong because it's learning at an exponential rate. And he was saying that the fact that in years to come, Einstein, for example, has got an IQ of 160. Now, AI at this point in time, ChatGPT, has got an IQ of 150 right now. But in the next 10 years, AI is going to have an IQ of 1600.
That's scary.
Yes, because it's learning exponentially. And there'll be things that AI will talk about and discuss that us mere mortals will have no idea what they're talking about.
That's a scary prospect.
Exactly. See the fear?
Yeah.
Now you tell me AI is a good thing. See that? I'll put that fear inside you now.
Yeah.
The uncomfortableness and the uncertainty and the anxiety. And now you're sitting saying to me, that's quite scary.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have to be concerned about. This is why he's put it out there, because we need to have an open discussion about AI and really face facts about where this could end up going. And it could end up going to the oblivion if we do not do things right, because this could end up taking over completely. But it could end up taking over and we could be in utopia for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, if done correctly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about the comfort zone. It's all about the fear and uncertainty. And everything that's predictable actually makes people feel safe. Yeah. This is why I love predictability. Why do you think I like to do the numbers? This is what I've done all my life. Why do you think I like to do numbers? Why do you think I talk about analytics? Why do you think I talk about statistics and facts to back everything up that I'm saying? Because I know it's really is my comfort zone. It lets me understand straight away where I am right now, and it lets everybody else understand where we are right now as well. So facts and figures don't lie. They're facts and figures. You can't dispute them. They're out there straight away, and they're in the public domain. So if your knowledge and expertise that you're putting forward is based on the facts and figures, no one can argue with you.
Yeah, I think that you say about obviously the fear and uncertainty and things that is out with your comfort zones. Then everybody who's listening, and I know I do, and I'm sure you do as well, Jim, know what their comfort zone is, or when they're in their comfort zone in a position. And that the temptation of that feeling of being in your comfort zone is quite appealing, especially when you've got fear and anxiety about something or uncertainty about something. So, I mean, how do we overcome that? How do we program ourselves to overcome that and resist that temptation to be in our comfort zone?
Really, in essence, I don't think there's ever been a point where I've never been in my comfort zone. where I've ever been in my comfort zone. Sorry, I think at every single time I'm always uncomfortable, but uncomfortably content, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've always, you know, even when I'm sitting doing nothing, I feel really uncomfortable because I'm sitting doing nothing and I feel I should be
I
doing
feel like you
something.
should be doing something.
Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable. And I've done that in the past as well. But the things, you know, the temptation to have comfort and just, you know, to pull the blankets over you and just, you know, cozy in on the sofa
Yeah.
is overwhelming. But you've got to have something that will push you out of that, and that's going to take an ambition. That's going to take a dream. That's going to take somewhere where you really want to achieve. If you're not pushed by your circumstances or pulled by your dreams, you'll do neither. You'll be sitting in your comfort zone for the rest of your life. But nobody has achieved anything without being uncomfortable at some point in time. It's the uncomfortableness it will ensure that you will possibly achieve in terms of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to be. So it's easy to be tempted to stay there where you are right now. Look at me. I hate phoning people, or I used to hate phoning people. I don't like phoning people. But I'm okay with it now because I'm comfortable with it, because I just forced myself into it. And to the point where I was very anxious. I was very, you know, this is talking about 35 years ago, remember, when I first started. It was when people said, you've got to phone people. My mentor says, you've got to phone people. You've got to talk to them. It's like, right, I'll phone you back in 10 minutes. Phone 10 people right now on your list. And it's like, oh, no. And then, you know, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And I just did it because I wanted more in life. I wanted more. I knew I wanted more. I didn't know what it was, but I just wanted more. I didn't want to be the person that would be basically working for the rest of their life and never be able to have any choices in life at all. Never be able to go on holiday because I couldn't afford it. Never be able to say to someone, you know, have someone control my whole life. Have a political stance and be controlled by that political stance because I don't have the independence of my own capacity in financial terms to be able to stand up to the government. Now I do. They can't influence anything I've got. And that's why I'm able to say what I say now, though, and I'm quite outspoken about it in political terms. Because, you know, I want to say what I want to say because I believe it is the right way forward, for the way in terms of housing strategy, in terms of the economy, in terms of what we should be doing. Now, that doesn't mean to say I'm going to be a politician. I'm a good lobbyist. But that's the reason. That was one of the fundamental reasons why I did it. That's the things I always used to remember and push me out of my comfort zone. So it's having that thing, and growth and comfort can actually, they can ride the same horse when you think about it. Okay, look at the fixed mindset. When you have a fixed mindset, you convince yourself that you don't have the necessary skills to do or accomplish something. It takes you less motivation to look for opportunities and grow and learn new skills. You've also got fixed habits as well.
Yeah.
You know, but we're all in fixed habituals, you know, all the time. I get really bent out of shape when people change my habit procedure. You know, because I know what in the morning when I get up, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do this, and I do it all in sequence. And most people do that as well. They just don't realize it's called habit stacking. And I want to make it as efficient as possible. So now I do my workout while the actual bath is running. Where I used to do my workout and then run the bath and have to wait on it. These sort of things. So I do my workout while the bath is running in the bathroom. So these are all the different. So to make it more efficient, and I listen to Diary of a CEO on the television at the same time.
Yeah, habit stacking is quite a good thing, and we've covered it in previous shows. And since we have, I've tried to incorporate it so much more into things that I do, just to, like you say, to make better use of time and things as well. There's also there's habits and ways that I do things, and change for me sometimes is a bit difficult. And you know, it's coming to terms with maybe sometimes the way you do something can be done more efficient by doing it another way and getting out of that habit. Do you know what I mean? So there's lots of things to think about when it comes to your fixed kind of habits and mindset.
Often you don't want to change because it is out of your comfort zone having to change it. So
That's
you're quite
true,
happy. It's the old thing about the dog lying in front of the fire and the nail keeps sticking into its side. And then every now and again the dog moves and the nail gets into its side again. It lets out a big yelp. But the dog loves lying in front of the fire, so it tolerates it.
Yeah.
Because it loves it loves lying in front of the fire more than it does with the angst of the nail. But if the nail goes right into the dog will go away from the fire. So you see how it could be easily you tolerate it, you tolerate it, but then there comes a point where it becomes uncomfortable, and that where you are right now is more uncomfortable than where you're going to be in the future. In your mind. Remember, it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
So, and if that's the case, that's what will make you change. That's what will do something for you. Sometimes it's taking that leap of faith and actually having full belief that you can overcome this. But sometimes people say, look, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I'm just going to do it regardless of the consequences. And it's almost like they just throw themselves into the water and say, well, I'm going to swim. And I've done that quite often. I've just said, right, let's get on with it. Let's do it. I'm going to do it. And then you run back out the water. You run back in the water. You run back out and you run back in. Look, just jump in the water straight at the deep end and just start swimming.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I think obviously successful behavioural changes can be really difficult because your existing behaviour is habitual and you've got into those habits. And the more we repeat certain behaviours, the more we get stuck into a fixed patterns. And obviously that's what I was just saying about even with my own experiences, and I'm sure everybody's the same. And it's like you say, Jim, for example, like if you're waking up to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, may be very difficult at the beginning. Do you know what I mean? People might not be used to that. But and it's obviously they're a regular sleeping pattern and schedule, but if you stick to it and keep doing that, it will become a new behavioural pattern, and it'll just become natural to you.
Well, look at the coal miners and that, you know, from the past. All the guys that were down the pit, they were waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and even when they're retired, they were up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every morning.
Yeah.
Because it's part of their body clock now. It's part of them, their being, and that's who they are. So all their patterns of behaviour have actually still stayed with them, and they get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they just go to their bed at 9 or 10, and then get up again and just do all over again every single time.
It's funny that you talk about the pattern for. I've actually been forced into an earlier wake up and sleeping pattern. And it's my dog because he's up at the crack of dawn and he wakes you up. So and over the last few years, it's become my new habit because, well, I've not got a choice. I have to get up.
See how you've just said to yourself, you've not got a choice.
Well, I do have a choice, but
yes, you do, don't you? But you've actually told it. See how easy it is to change that, though.
Yeah.
Because you keep all you need to do with anything is say you've not got a choice. And your brain goes, oh, I've not got a choice, so I'm going to have to do whatever it is you want me to do.
Yeah.
Even though you do know damn fine that you've got a choice, because there's nothing getting you up, then it'll make you do it anyway. Your brain makes you do anything you want it to do.
Yeah.
It's literally a computer where you program it for what you want, and then it puts out the result you're after.
Yeah.
So if you continually tell your computer, your brain, it's not going to go well, it's not going to go well, it's not going to go well, guess what's going to happen? It ain't going to go well. Regardless, you could have the best that Beyonce could go on stage, and if she tells herself 1,000,000 times before she goes on stage, this isn't going to go well, it won't go well, no matter how good she is at what she does, because it'll be in her mind all the time. It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. It's like all these different things. So that's why it's the different. So this is all about. This is all about making sure that you've got a healthy balance, though, of that. You didn't want to put yourself too much out your comfort zone. You just want, as I said before, you just want to keep pushing yourself a wee bit at a time. Everybody keeps saying to me and keeps putting pressure on me. They're not really putting pressure on me at all, but they used to about, how you getting on with your running. It's like, well, I've not really started running yet because I'm letting my knee repair. But before I get to running, I'm going to have to go cycling again. Now I swim a mile in the pool every single week just to keep my swimming up. But I'm going to have to get back to that, and this will come next after all my habits starting because I've now got the time to do it. So I'm now going to start pushing in the cycling. So I'm going to put the cycling first, and I'll put the running next. So it's all about just doing one step at a time. So it's uncomfortable to a degree, but it's not too uncomfortable that when you come across an obstacle, for example, then you'll not quit because the obstacle's not that much in comparison to what you're trying to do. So you see an easy option to go around the obstacle rather than anything else. Classic example. Well, classic example is going back to that point. I mean, the obstacle for me was, I'm going to Pitlochry with the boys. It's like we're leaving, and I had to drive the other way. I had to go somewhere else to drive and see that property first. Now, that's technically the obstacle. So, but my incentive was, I know this is going to be a good property to buy. I know it's going to earn income from it, and I know it's going to appreciate in value. And literally, that hour out of my way, hour and a half out of my way, has paid me an absolute fortune over the years. An hour and a half of work.
Yeah.
When you look at it like that, putting myself in my comfort zone for an hour and a half. Now, you can get, classic is, you get grief from your spouse, you get grief from your kids. It's like, oh, why we need to do this and all the rest of it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But, the reason I'm doing this is obviously for wealth creation, for later on to have a better lifestyle overall. And it's all these wee seeds that you're planting on the way.
I think so. It would be fair to say, I think, that obviously pushing yourself out your comfort zone we've established as a key element to being successful. And but I think a lot of people may think, right, I'm going to totally push myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Do you think that's maybe setting themselves up for failure because they'll push themselves too much? I think rather than just to push yourself gradually over a
unless you've got a dream fixed in your mind which you're going to achieve and it's massive. And you could see over all the obstacles to see that dream. That's not the greatest thing to do. This is why becoming vegan is not an easy task. People that go, overnight. Oh, they're vegan, and overnight they're vegan. It's like it took me 4 years to become vegan, and 4 years from vegetarian. So vegetarian for 4 years, and then actually quietly cutting out things like milk, cutting out things. Well, the last two things to go was the cheese and the eggs, which were great. But I knew they were killing me because of the amount of. I mean, cheese is just fat. I know. That's what it is. It's just a pile of fat. And cheese was only derived because in the wartime they had all the fat left over when they had the milk, and then they thought, what we're going to do with the fat? It tastes all right. Let's make cheese. That's how cheese came about in the war. During the war, they ended up making cheese out of the leftovers of the milk when they got rennet out or something or whatever it is they did. I know that
rennet's the thing that makes it separates.
Yeah, it was the derivative, and it's like, what are we going to do with this now? It's a byproduct. Okay, we'll make cheese, and that's how cheese became so popular, and everybody actually started adding seasoning and everything to it. This is why you get good vegan cheese now. It's just basically like plastic. It's just as bad, but they've got the right seasoning in it.
Yeah.
But my point is about it's that comfort zone thing. It's stepping outside of that. It's actually just a wee small step at each time in order to get to where you're going, and not this one big massive step and throwing yourself.
I think that's an important thing to remember. Yeah.
Unless there's no way back. If there's no way back, then it's burn your boats and you've got to do it, whether you like it or not. And that's another one which I did. It was like, this is Monte Carlo or bust. It's like literally. I will go to Monte Carlo one day, actually, just because obviously I've always talked about Monte Carlo or bust. I'm not going to buy an apartment in Monte Carlo. They're £1 million starting.
No,
that's no good.
Right. But yeah, I think
it's the Monte Carlo or bust, and that's why Boneless says, I am going to do this. I'm not going to have a pension. This is going to be my pension. This is going to set me free. And I know it's going to set me free because I'm going to make it set me free. So that's literally it. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to remember though that obviously it's something you need to do over time. Is gradually push yourself that little by little outside your comfort zone, and look at things like maybe look at what your comfort zone is. Measure what's inside and what's outside your comfort zone, and gradually push yourself out of that. Would you agree?
I'm not really sure what I did to do that, measuring what's inside and outside my comfort zone. I think it's okay. Let me.
Do you maybe do it subconsciously?
Yeah, let me define this. Over all these years, when you go to places like Tony Robbins, for example, you're sitting at Tony Robbins events. Okay, you're sitting in the crowd. For example, Unleash the Power Within. You've been there.
I went with you, and I was very uncomfortable at some point.
Yeah, because he goes, go and hug 10 people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, touchy-feely is no my thing. See, by the end of the whole thing, you're like, oh, give us a cuddle. Give us a cuddle. Give us a cuddle. You're coming home and you're thinking, this is normal. Give us a cuddle. Give us a cuddle. I was even in my church going, hallelujah, putting my hand up, and it's like, what's all that about? And it's like, because you're now completely comfortable with it and you've been engrossed in that environment for the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
What was uncomfortable before now becomes so comfortable within you for that reason. And it was a lot of the things to do was writing down your goals.
Yeah.
It was all the positive outcomes that's going to happen in your life as a result of you changing your circumstances for the better. All these things, all these goals, all these wee things that you've got written down, these made a fundamental difference. I remember sitting in a cafe in Paris, all by myself, wee bottle of wine, and then also a nice steak. That's before I was vegan. A nice steak, sitting in a cafe, and I was at Keith Cunningham's event. So Keith Cunningham had a weekend in Paris. We were at one of the hotels learning from Keith Cunningham. If anybody doesn't know who Keith Cunningham is, he is Rich Dad. Yeah, he's Rich Dad. He's who the book was all about. So Keith Cunningham was there, and I was sitting in there, and he said, look, tonight, go and do whatever you do and just take an A4 page and just write down all the positive things that you want in your life. And I think I got to about 4 pages of all the different positive things and all the things that were positive right now. So then that reinforces all the belief patterns in your head, and therefore reinforces when it comes to the decision to step outside your comfort zone. It's easy enough to do now because you remember all the things that you're doing it for.
Yeah, because you're going to think, right, if I do this, this is going to get me a step closer to whatever is on that list. Yeah.
Aye. And again, if you don't keep your eye on that, you'll deviate from that path, and you'll not get back on that path possibly unless you put their eye on the ball again. I mean, it's like playing football. Imagine playing football blindfolded. You've got no chance.
Yeah, I know.
You'll never hit. You might hit the ball once in a blue moon if you're running about the field and bump into it, but that's literally what it is without goals. And I mean, it doesn't need to be hard and fast goals written down. Oh, you've got to have it written down and tattooed on your arm and everything. No, I don't mean anything like that. What I mean is you've just got to keep a sense and keep it in your head and actually keep remembering why you're doing things, what you're doing it for, what is the greater good, what is the greater purpose of what you're doing it for. That's what you've got to remember. That's what will keep you, when you get uncomfortable, you'll be okay with being uncomfortable because you know there's more light at the end of the tunnel at the other end of being uncomfortable. So this is really good. Stephen Covey talks about this, about SMART goals.
Yeah.
And actually how to break that down. So, 7 habits of successful people. I think it's Stephen Covey that talks about that. So he talks about SMART goals and all the rest of it. But the more important thing is you've got to take action.
Yeah.
So I take action quite a lot. You know that. It's like even in the middle of the night, I'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and take action. It's literally like that because I will not sleep unless I do something. Unless I do something about what I've got in my head. I've also learned to keep a pen and a pad, not next to my bed because it'll just wake Elaine up. She'll get annoyed about it. But actually just keep a pen and a pad or something, close by so I could just write something down or even send myself an email in the middle of the night and actually so I remember in the morning. Because see the amount of times you remember something at night. Aye, you remember at night and you get up, I'll remember that in the morning. You get up in the morning and you go, shit.
Yeah,
that was a great
idea. Everybody has to have went through that. I mean, and I don't know what it is about when you're lying at night and maybe in between that sleeping but not sleeping type thing. I seem to think really clearly, and I think, oh, it makes sense, right? This is what I'll do. And you wake up in the morning and think, what was that again?
Damn it.
So I've emailed myself a few times.
I nailed it to you. You were sitting to yourself, I nailed it. I had the solution to this problem and I've forgotten. I did that the other night. I thought, I've still got this going round in my head about what I'm going to say at this housing summit, the North East 5 housing summit. And I thought, I'm going to put this in. And, that'll be brilliant. That'll be fantastic. And I thought, I'll be okay. And then I went to sleep and I got up in the morning and went, shit, what was it? What was it I was going to say again? Yeah. It's like it was brilliant too. It was right on the money. And I thought, oh no, you're joking. that's because you're not actually in the zone, and again, nothing to do with comfort, but if you don't write down the goals, you'll always be uncomfortable at what you're doing, and you'll never probably want to do it because you've not got any reason to do it for.
Yeah.
Look at a classic example. Here's another one. Burning building. The building's burning down. Would you run into it and put out the fire?
Depends who was in it.
Well, no, just a building's burning down. Would you run in and put out the fire?
No.
No, absolutely not. Okay, so somebody's dog's in it. Would you run and put out the fire if it could mean you could get killed?
I'm a new dog owner, so
no, but
well, no, I probably wouldn't.
If somebody else's dog was in it, would you run in and risk your life and actually, with the prospect that you could actually die in the fire?
No, but I would feel guilty that I didn't.
Okay, so what if it was your dog?
I would try my hardest to go in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So see how the difference in the fact that the goals change. The uncomfortableness is still the same. The challenge is still the same, but the goals changed.
Yeah.
And it's when the goal changes to the goal, it will push you beyond your uncomfortableness. That's when you'll do it. That's the goal and the dream that you have to have in order to get out your comfort zone and do that. This is all about finding the sweet spot.
Yeah, about where you are actually comfortable, about pushing yourself outside that comfortable zone, basically. Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of times I've had that in the past, but times I've actually pushed myself in my comfort zone, and I don't even know why I'm doing it.
It's kind of like creating a new comfort zone outside your original one. Do you know what I mean? Because you're pushing yourself, but you've gotten yourself used to it. I mean, does that make sense a wee bit?
It's, as I said, it's almost habitual.
Yeah.
It's like a habit of being uncomfortable. And it's when I'm not uncomfortable, I realize that I'm not uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable. That's weird, eh?
Yeah.
Just by feeling comfortable, you feel uncomfortable because you're comfortable. So you should be doing something about it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, people will all have their different limits, and some people will have a lot more tolerance than other people to push themselves. And I think you need to realize that and make sure you're not pushing yourself too much. I don't know, but I know. I don't know.
Do you want to know why?
Yeah, tell us, Jim, because I don't know.
Because we're all born, most people are born 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 feet, all the rest of it, 1 brain, everything else. Everything else is more or less still the same.
Yeah.
The only differences that separate us from everyone else is the experience we encounter on our journey. And that is the hand that you've been dealt in life.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are dealt easier hands than others. But you shouldn't be envious to that person because that's just a hand they're dealt. They were just so lucky enough they maybe stood on the shoulder of giants. You know, I was watching someone else. It was the top female podcaster in the world. She's got a show. It's more popular. Who's Your Daddy or something like that. It's more popular apparently than Joe Rogan. And she's been doing it for 4 years. And then, and anybody could look at it and go, that's no, you know, how she got that. And it's like, but her dad was in broadcasting. He was a producer and a director. So she used to go into the TV studio and she used to say that. She said, I want to do this when I'm older. Now, you could say, oh, she was just lucky and that's no fair. It's like,
she's leveraged her position.
Aye, but, you know, do you want to really be a wee bitch about it? You know, I hate, you know, and, you know, that's the reality, isn't it?
People are like that, yeah.
You know, do you want to be a whiny? You know, it's no fair. Woe is me. It'll not get anywhere. It'll just make, and then all your friends that are woe is me as well, you'll attract, and then you'll all go woe is me, and you'll all have a pity party with your thumb in your mouth. It's no fair. It's no fair. It's not, life isn't fair. It's like, oh, and then you'll all go away and pat each other on the back and go and give each other a cuddle and say to yourselves, well, it's just no for the likes of us, is it? And everybody go, yeah, it's no for the likes of us. And it's like, holy shit, run away from that group as quick as you can.
Yeah, totally agree. I've actually included that in today. It's hanging out with like-minded people is really important.
Yeah, run away from that group as quick as you can, because that group is toxic for you as an individual. We all love people like that, but sometimes we just don't love to be around them because they're energy vampires. Mm-hmm. So when you've got your energy on and you've got your raring to go, that's what's going to drive you forward, and to be when you're uncomfortable, and your energy is going to deplete while when you're doing it. But the thing that's going to keep you going is the energy you've got in the beginning. But if somebody actually starts to suck that energy out of you, and it's like like you're screwed. It's like you're not going to perform as best as you could. Footballers talk about it. It's in Think and Grow Rich about your sex drive, and how people use that to their benefit, and that's why footballers or anybody that's a top athlete does not engage in sex way before they're about to perform, because that's one of the natural drivers that will drive you forward if you're on point with that in terms of. So that's why they don't do that, and it's a well-known psychological and physiological process, and it's in Think and Grow Rich. The power of that is unbelievable. The drive and determination it creates. So that's another one as well. What's his name? It's no Chris Rock. I keep getting them mixed up. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart talks about it.
The wee guy.
Kevin Hart talks about it in his show, and he talks about it, and his wife goes, are we gonna get it on? And it's like, look, I can only do one thing at a time. Do you like the bling and do you like the lifestyle that you've got? And she went, absolutely, I love it. He says, do you love it as much, more than what you're talking about now? And she says, absolutely, I do. He says, well, if I do this, you're not going to have that. And he even knows himself, and he understands his physiological belief and his physiological structure, and how he is, and how he can use that and manifest itself in order to create great wealth and riches overall. Yeah. I'm not saying abstain or anything.
I'm just going to stay.
But what I'm saying is there's ways to get out your comfort zone. There's that positive mental attitude, like you spoke about. It's like hanging about with the like-minded people as well, friends and mentors and co-workers. If you're trying to make it in the accountancy sector or the financial sector, or anything like that, you want to hang about with the people in that sector.
Yeah.
If you want to make it in property, you're going to hang about with people in that property. Now, that doesn't mean to say you've got to buy a course. You can still hang about with people in the property business without actually having to pay for anything. And just actually, it'll rub off on you. Hang about with people and rub off on you. My mum used to talk about it all the time. Don't go about with these people because it'll rub off on you.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's also true.
No, it's definitely true.
So it's all these different people. It's people maybe are going somewhere. They're aspirating. It's even people from different fields. They're maybe in a field that has got nothing to do with what you're doing, but because you're both want to aspire to be the best in your own particular fields, actually the collaboration between the both of you on the success principles and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and building lists and finding your sweet spot and cultivating that positive mental attitude.
Having that same attitude, yeah.
It adopts to everything. When I first started out, my mentors have nothing to do with property. They had everything to do with network marketing.
Yeah.
But everything they taught me was transferable skills into my job, into my career, into my investment strategies, into what I do now. It's all skills that are transferable everywhere. It's universally, you can transfer these skills everywhere. And they actually said to me, and that's why I ended up starting off as, homeless, unemployed, but also became a financial director before I was 30, of a manufacturing company. So, and that was a meteoric rise when you think about it, because that was only within, how long was that? I was probably 19, I came out in 1990, out of college in 1990, and I retired in 2006. And it was about 8 years before that. So 1990 to 1998. So about 7 or 8 years it took me to become a financial director.
Yeah.
Now, think about it. I came out of college in 1990, but I still had 7 years of training to do to get my professional exams, because that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time and effort to actually do that. It takes a lot of time to do it. So when you think about that journey and the professional exams and everything like that, that's a fast rise to to
Yeah,
where I was. So it's about hanging out with like-minded people. I've always talked about some of the mentors I had in industry as well and how great they were for me. So that was another one, hanging out with like-minded people. So how do I get out of my comfort zone?
yeah. I mean, to get out of your comfort zone and really start and living out with that comfort zone. I mean, you obviously saying you continually push yourself, Jim. You're always outside your comfort zone. You feel uncomfortable if you're not. If you're out with your comfortable zone,
Yeah.
you feel uncomfortable if you're in it, should I say? So I mean, how do you keep yourself outside the comfort zone and keep yourself moving forward?
It's probably the amount of knowledge and information I actually absorb from other people. I've always been a student of life now, and I still continually am. And I always ask questions. I always try to find out answers for everything. And sometimes it's the most insignificant thing. It's, we're watching a film the other night, and I immediately go, "Oh, who was that? And what were they in again?" And I immediately look up on Google, and then find out what they were in, what they did, and where they were from, and what age they are, and everything like that. I'm very, very curious about other people's journeys as well.
Yeah, you're like that in general anyway, Jim. You like to ask a lot of questions
I never
about
used to be
anything.
like that though.
Well, but it's funny because I know you do that. You make me do it sometimes as well. But obviously, I learn for things that you do. But a lot of people don't understand that, and I've had to point out just to a few people over the years. Like Jim likes to ask a lot of questions just so he understands.
That's because most people tell their kids to shut up. Honestly, that's what it is. Most people tell their children to shut up, and most teachers as well probably tell children to ask questions to be quiet most of the time.
Yeah, and really, it's the best way to learn.
Yeah, because they're disruptive to the rest of the class because they're asking questions all the time, and some of them will even get categorised as ADHD and problematic,
Which is
and
crazy.
then stuck on Ritalin. And literally, that's because they ask too many questions. But they didn't ask too many questions. They're curious. They want to know how things work. And for all you know, that's probably the next leaders in our society because they're curious. And that's the people who will set you free and grow industry and grow our society for the positive, I would say. So that's and they're in their comfort zone because that's naturally just them. They just like asking questions, just like actually being curious. But you become uncomfortable because people start telling you to be quiet all the time. So then you go to yourself, should I be asking that question? I'll give you a classic example how I was uncomfortable the other day. I'm sitting in the debate Scotland night, and the guy says, "We'll do a test question before we go live, just to get the audience warmed up." And they talked about AI. What do you think the future of AI is, and why do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Now, everybody else, a few other people put their hands up and stuff like that, and I knew I had an answer for them, and I was like, not really sure if I should put my hand up or no. I might feel stupid if I get, because nobody else is actually caught on the fact that we need AI. AI is essential. See how I'm now comfortable on my own stage. Yeah, and yet I wasn't in that crowd because it's people I don't even know. I take a wee while to assimilate to a crowd and actually understand who everybody is and how they fit in. Once I understand that dynamic, I then realize what I can do next. And that's probably like most people. So being out of your comfort zone is often uncomfortable for me as well, very uncomfortable. So the knowledge and expertise that you carry sometimes makes it comfortable for you. And that's why I become a student of everything. Yeah. Because the more knowledge and expertise you actually acquire, the more confident you are in how you're saying it and bringing it across, the more comfortable you feel overall. Most people are uncomfortable because their lack of knowledge and understanding in any particular subject that they're dealing with, or just in life skills in general. This is why it's important to have a proper education for our younger generation as they're coming up, in order to let them understand, in order to teach them to understand themselves, so we can mold and shape them to actually be able to almost triage their own situation in times of where it's very anxious for them, rather than actually just saying, "I'll have to go and see a doctor."
Yeah, I mean, we do our own in-house training and things, Jim, with ourselves and staff, and that's one thing we learn, that with learning and knowledge comes confidence, because you're confident in what you're saying because you've learned that's correct, and you know that that's right. And that could be in any field. It doesn't have to be in any specific thing. As long as you are confident in the knowledge that you have, then you will be confident, and then that allows you the confidence to push yourself outside your comfort zone. I think, learning and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone leads you to your life of living a life that you're capable of living. I think, and it's what motivates you and challenges yourself, and doing it one step at a time. I think is really important.
Yeah, motivation and challenging. Nelson Mandela famously said it, there's no passion to be found in playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living.
Yeah.
This is why I come back to the deathbed thing.
Yeah.
Imagine on your deathbed, realizing that you could have lived a far better life. You're only going round once. This is not a dress rehearsal. So you better make the most of it now. And that doesn't mean to say go out and get pissed every night. That just all I'm saying is make the best of the hand you've been dealt. That's the most important thing I could ever say. Make the best of your hand you've been dealt, play the cards that you've been dealt, and actually you can't control anything outside of your norm. You can only control everything inside you. So accept the things that you control, the things that you can control, but accept the things that you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about that at all. And just go for it every single time. I keep saying to people, keep swinging for the fence. At some point, you'll hit a home run and it'll go over the fence. But just keep swinging. And the people that don't keep swinging are the people that actually don't achieve anything because they're not swinging anymore. The only way you can not succeed in something is to give up. Otherwise, you're always going to be successful because you're actually keeping going. And it's the person that hang around the longest in any particular industry or field, it actually ends up becoming one of the most successful because more and more people know them and gravitate towards them and see their knowledge and expertise because of the length of time they've been in it. But it doesn't mean to say just hang around long enough and you'll be successful. You've actually got to hang around long enough and learn something at the same time.
Yeah, of course.
So there's no surprise. I'm looking at the book over there, Richard Branson, Finding My Virginity. You know, I know I've read Richard Branson, Finding My Virginity before.
Is this the updated version?
Yeah, it's an updated version, taking into account Virgin Galactic and stuff like that. So again, that's knowledge and expertise I want to learn about. There's no surprise, you know, when somebody else like Alan Sugar brings out a book, I'll read it. Mo Garrett, brings out a book about happiness. I'll read it. John Lydon brings out a book about anger is your strength, so I'll read it. The one I'm reading now is, Kevin Wright, the buy, refurbish, repeat. Now I know Kevin personally, but I tell you what, it's a huge amount of knowledge I never had, and a chunk of knowledge I never had about bridging, because he's an expert in that. Bridging his thing. Yeah. And there's things there I thought, God, I never even thought it like that. I never even thought about it like that. And I never even thought about it like that. And it's like, wow, I'm glad I bought that book. Yeah. So you can get all that knowledge, and some of these headings will put you off. Classic example is somebody on Diary of a CEO, I was a stripper or whatever it was and making £1 million. And it's like, okay, I want to know about that. How on earth did you make £1 million doing that? Because it's not what she's done. I want to know about. It's the habits she had in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
what she incorporated and able to enable her to that position.
See about the transferable skills. Mm-hmm. The transferable skills. If you've got these skills, you've got them for life, and you can transfer them to any single thing that you do in life.
Yeah.
And you will be successful in that as a result of using the same skills as you've used in other areas. That's why you get people that cross over into other areas of expertise, and then all of a sudden they make a success at it as well. And I've no doubt, Elon Musk is probably a classic example. Do you think he's uncomfortable? He's uncomfortable, I'll tell you. He's uncomfortable all the time because he's got everything on the line. But you can't phase somebody like that because they don't care about what they lose in pursuit of their passion. They're no bored. That's that. Somebody actually said to me a wee while back in lockdown. Actually, I can't remember what it was. It was something about, you're a threat to a lot of people. And I went, what do you mean by that? He says, because you're not doing things for money. You're
Yeah.
doing it for the passion, desire. The money doesn't matter to you. And I went, yeah, probably, because the money's not the driver involved in this. This is why I'm not doing this for the money. We're taking an hour out of our time, or an hour and a half out of our time. You've got to set it up as well. This isn't about money. This is about leaving information, knowledge, expertise, and things that could actually help a younger generation move on as a result. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But hey,
even things. I mean, I use it as a point of reference to go back to. And if I'm speaking to people and they bring up a subject that we've covered, I send it on to them. Do you know?
Yeah.
And it's that kind of content that we're creating as well. So it's definitely all relevant.
And that's us. And the final challenge I would say to anybody, what is your most uncomfortable thing that you could do right now? And, in order to push you on the track you want to go to where you want to be. And if you're not doing it, then I challenge you to do it right now. Look at Cammy Barnes.
Yeah. Look how nervous he was the first.
He was shitting himself.
I know.
And to go, I mean, take my hat off to you, Cammy. Flipping heck. And then, for him to do that is absolutely unbelievable. A young laddie from an area which is, completely deprived. I could feel his mindset. I know and understand his mindset. I know how he's thinking, what he was thinking, and I know how he felt at that point in time. Because I've been there. I've been at that point where it's like just completely, oh my God, this is a huge leap. But see, his driver was something better for his family. That's what drove him.
Yeah, his wee girl and things, yeah.
That's what drove him the most, and that's the most important thing to him. So I definitely think you should be looking at stuff like that and think to yourself, okay, why are they doing that? But then understand the drivers behind that, and that's why they're pushing themselves out of their comfort zone for that reason. But they don't mind because the prize is bigger than the objection. When the prize is bigger than the objection that you're having, the challenge that you're having, nothing will stop you.
Yeah.
So get out of your comfort zone, and it will lead to a professional and personal development for you, and your total transformation in the years to come. It is one step at a time. It is not overnight, anything like that. Oh, it took me 30 years to be an overnight success. And on that note, I'm finished. Final words for you, Richard, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, hopefully a lot of people will relate to the comfort zone thing. I think it'll apply to everybody in anybody's line of work or what they do in their life. I know it does to me, and I know that obviously, Jim, you have pushed yourself throughout the years as well. And like you say, ultimately we've demonstrated this morning, I think, or this afternoon, that it will lead to success in your professional and your personal life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got Debate Night Scotland on the phone to me again. I've got a funny feeling.
We'll let you go and push yourself, Jim.
I've got a funny feeling I'm going to Edinburgh this week. I'm hoping I'm up against Patrick Harvey or something like that. But hey ho, we'll see how we get on.
We'll leave you to push yourself outside your comfort zone. Right, Jim. Thanks.